I'm Rich Andreski, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system. Welcome to another episode of Along the Lines. I'm Rich Andreski. Today we're going to talk about mobility management, or helping people discover their best travel options. Many older adults, people with cognitive disabilities and mobility issues, cannot just walk to their local transit stop, and it's up to mobility managers to help them find their way. The Americans with Disabilities Act mandates that transit agencies make transit accessible to all individuals and provide alternate service for those who may have a special need. The goal is to help people get to medical appointments, access jobs, and other aspects of everyday life. There are many providers and services throughout Connecticut, and finding your options can seem like a daunting task. You may be familiar with the ADA Paratransit vehicles that follow traditional fixed route transit, but did you know there are also special services for veterans, older residents, and people who use a mobility device? Today, my guests are here to talk about how they help people navigate those options, coordinate with agencies, and help people live their best lives. Joining me today are three guests from the Kennedy Center, a not-for-profit organization that helps people with disabilities realize their full potential. Pleased today to welcome John Warzala, Director of Mobility Services, April Chaplin, Northwest Connecticut Regional Mobility Manager and Ombudswoman, and Mary Rosenbauer, ADA Transit Assessment and Training Coordinator. Well, let's get this conversation started. April, how about we go to you first? For our listeners who may not be familiar with the Kennedy Center, can you explain the mission of the Kennedy Center and some of the services that you offer?
Certainly. Well, the mission, as you stated, is for us to serve people with disabilities and seniors, as well as veterans, and to help them realize their full potential. We have day programs, residential sites, group-supported employment. During pandemic, we opened a Palm Enable online store and PPE sales. The majority of the locations, like the brick and mortar store, are actually filled. Those positions are filled by people with disabilities. So we're kind of all over the community, focused most in the Southwest, Northwest, and Central areas.
Now, when some think about disabilities, I think we may tend to think about an individual with a mobility impairment, perhaps in a wheelchair. Can you describe some of the types of disabilities that exist out there and how the Kennedy Center supports those individuals?
Certainly. I will lean more toward transportation as I'm thinking of this, but we have people who have invisible disabilities. Certainly, someone with a mobility disability, you can often identify because of the presence of a wheelchair, rollator, or cane. But there are people that suffer from PTSD, severe social anxiety, depression. So we like to help all of those individuals.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to reflect on that for a moment, that disabilities are not always in front of you. At the DOT, our goal is to serve all individuals regardless of where they might be coming from in terms of their ability to navigate our public transit system, including cognitive disabilities. So, I hear a lot about the mobility manager services that Kennedy Center provides. Can you talk a little bit about how that mobility manager helps individuals find travel options?
Certainly. So we start first by reaching out to all the community. We go in person. During pandemic, of course, we had to switch to some Zoom, but we do go out into the community. We meet with senior centers, senior living facilities, hospitals, medical offices, just about anywhere you can imagine where there may be users of public transportation that need to know about the options that are available so they can get to medical appointments, shopping trips, personal appointments. So we go out into the community, we do Zoom presentations for professionals. One of the things I felt was very successful during pandemic was reaching out through the Meals on Wheels programs to deliver transportation bags that had all of the information individuals may need. Even though they were at home, they could still receive certain services. And when they had to travel, knew about transportation options they could access that they may not previously have needed.
In the life of an individual, the ability to get out and participate in their community or reach a medical appointment is so critical. It's literally life changing for those individuals. And we often make the case for investment in public transit. And the idea sometimes is that public transit is a discretionary choice for some people, that we want to get them out of their cars is a refrain that you'll often hear. And while that's true for some individuals, many individuals rely on the public transit network for everyday trips. It's not about commuting, it's about actually getting around, seeing their family and loved ones, participating in their community.
Exactly.
So I'm very excited to hear about all that the Kennedy Center is doing to help those that may not be able to use that public transit network.
That's a good point, Rich. And it's also very rewarding. Some of these individuals who live alone may have their only social experience with that driver going to a medical appointment. So, very often, that driver is not just someone that gets them from point A to point B, but it may be their social experience for the week or the month. So, those drivers play a very pivotal and important role to some of those individuals who are isolated.
So no doubt, and great to keep in mind the importance of what we do collectively to help people move about. Now, just pivoting a little bit, maybe if we could, I want to talk about travel training. So there are individuals that definitely need a special paratransit service, but there are others that, with some help, can figure out how to navigate the transit system. So who wants to take that one? And if an individual with mobility issues wanted to take public transportation, how would they find out more, and how can the Kennedy Center help?
I'll take that. We go to soup kitchens, for instance, in New Haven, a downtown evening soup kitchen. We set up tables where we provide all this information, the hard copy of the bus schedules, right down to the DOT's reduced fare transit photo ID card application, including like loaves and fishes, the food and clothing pantry in New Haven, where they typically have 400 persons on a Saturday morning come in to get a free breakfast, to get some food. But we're right there with the table of transportation related information for those persons that are seniors and those that have disabilities, for us to convey information about travel training and about the reduced fare transit photo ID. So getting back to your question about travel training, the Kennedy Center Mobility Services Department, we have a travel training program. It's been in existence since 1995, and it was started by Wendy Block. She has since retired. It's a free program. It's sponsored. We apply for a grant through the Connecticut Department of Transportation underneath CT Transit, and it's a 5-year grant. And through that, there's no charge to the individual for travel training. We travel train throughout the state of Connecticut, and let's say it's a person. I have an example. We have a person that was a high school student. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a senior with a disability, or a physical disability. It could be a cognitive, sensory, or intellectual disability. We had someone in the Milford region. The person had an intellectual disability. They were graduating high school. They really loved Mark Twain. So what we were able to do is we taught the person to take all public transportation from Milford, which was a bus to the train station, Metro North. From Metro North, they took the train to the Hartford line, and then from the Hartford line, they took a bus to the Mark Twain House and Museum in Hartford. And the person, this is all through public transportation. So now the person was so passionate about Mark Twain that he ended up volunteering his time, which gave him independence and confidence limitlessly. As a matter of fact, after he became a volunteer, his confidence grew so much that he was then able to go to a community college, and take public transportation to the community college. But again, because we gave him the independence and confidence that he didn't have before, he was able to leave his own home because of the transportation barriers. This is now a great success story that we have in terms of travel training. We have another person. She has a cortical visual impairment, so it's a visual ailment, visual disability, and she was travel trained in an area where the bus didn't come that frequently because it was a very rural area. But again, they did have public transportation there, and she was trained pre-pandemic. Well, during the pandemic, now this is very interesting because if she missed her bus going to work, she would then not be able to start her job because of the she would get to work too late. Similarly, if she were to miss that last bus home, she wouldn't be able to get home. She'd have to call someone, and that really wasn't an option for her. So she was travel trained successfully, and then when the pandemic hit, she worked at a grocery store, and she was deemed an essential worker. And the pride that she got from being, deemed an essential worker during the pandemic was unbelievable. In addition to which, she kept her income during the pandemic. That's all attributed to travel training as well.
John, these stories are extraordinary. We tend to, in public transportation, measure success by number of people, right? Number of riders on a route, or number of people being served by paratransit. But it's really the individual stories, and these are life-changing services for many individuals. And so we need to continue to tell these stories and convey to folks that it's much more than just a bus or a vehicle, traveling between A and B, right? That these services are absolutely critical and essential.
Oh,
It's funny,
absolutely.
Rich, because I actually have notes written and I wrote specialize in individuals. That's something that we do. We work together, specializing to make sure that individuals find the best transportation options available to them, that they don't fall through the cracks. I think that that's something that working together, we all do very well. I'd like to think we do. We certainly try. Sorry, John, I didn't mean
No,
to step on your
No,
toes
not at
there.
Well
all. No,
said,
Please
thank
Mary.
you.
Well
continue.
said.
Thank you, Mary. And I have to, just commend even the Hartford line in 2018 when it launched. We worked with an
Yes.
individual. He was a wheelchair user, and he had lived in Meriden. He grew up in Meriden. Because of his disability, the only place that he could live through the state of Connecticut was in New Haven. So for many, many years, he could not go up to Meriden. And when the Hartford line launched, he contacted us. He was really excited about it, but he was hesitant because Amtrak at the time, the entrance to the train, it wasn't wide enough for his wheelchair. So what we did was we worked with DOT. They were fantastic, and the day of the launch, we brought we coordinated. So we met the individual at Union Station in New Haven. He was really excited that he was hopefully going to be going up to the Meriden station, and he got on without any issues. It was fantastic, and he finally, after we got to the Meriden station, he got to exit the train onto Meriden, which he hadn't been able to do in years and years and years. So just for him to go visit his family, who then they could not come to New Haven for other circumstances and reasons. But again, that was life changing for him. Again, he wanted to go home and he couldn't go home, and thanks to the Hartford line, that made it possible. So thank you for that. And another very, very interesting, as you mentioned about, April mentioned about like invisible disabilities. We have our travel training program. We work with the American School for the Deaf in West Hartford. And what we typically do is we work with DOT. They've been fantastic. We actually had this a presentation with all the students, the graduating soon to be graduating students for the American School for the Deaf. Our travel trainer at the time, Brett, he himself was deaf. He had two cochlear implants. So what we were able to do was through DOT, they provided us with bus drivers and two empty buses. We brought the entire the class out. There was about 40 students, and we through Brett communicating. And if I wish it was perhaps recorded to see Brett in front of 40 students communicating just through American Sign Language. It was fantastic. So he did a brief presentation on travel training. All the students got onto the buses. He was describing what it was like to take the bus, how to take the bus, etc., what everything meant in the bus. And then we took off. We went to downtown, and it was a fantastic, beautiful day in the spring. They exited the bus. They got to walk around downtown, but then they came back on the bus, and it was a field trip that was just fantastic. After that, we went to Fast Track, and they've never been on Fast Track before, and we got on Fast Track, and we went down to New Britain, and we came back, and we couldn't get them off the bus. They just loved it. It was such a fantastic opportunity to show them that they can, they don't need to be reliant on guardians or parents for transportation. And it was an introduction for them that if they wanted to have travel training, to contact us after the fact. And then, our travel training process takes several weeks, depending on the individual's, intellectual, cognitive, sensory disability or physical disability. But it was a great partnership with DOT, getting the buses, and the school with American School for the Deaf and the Kennedy Center. It was a great synergy within everybody, and the benefit of it was for the students. It brought to their awareness what the capabilities, and the opportunities that public transportation offers them, because most of them never even went to New Britain before. They never had the opportunity to do that, and to take that ride was just fantastic. Because again, if you have to go to work, you have to go to school, wherever you have to go to a medical appointment just because it's raining or if it's snowing a little bit, depending on the inclement weather, you still have to go. You have to be part of life, right? And we travel train 12 months a year. It's a free program, as I mentioned. There's no charge to the trainee because that's all taken care of by, DOT and CT Transit. But the only thing they do have to pay for is their bus ride. So, they have to pay for the bus or the train ticket because we travel train on the trains as well.
John, thank you for sharing those stories, and particularly appreciate the nod to CT Fast Track and Hartford line. And I'll take the moment to explain that when the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, was passed in the early 1990s, it became federal law. And at the time, many facilities and public transit systems were completely inaccessible. If you had a mobility impairment, you were faced with basically being excluded from service. And incredible progress has been made. Most services today are accessible. There are some exceptions. Even here in Connecticut, we have some rail stations that are not level boarding. And I'm pleased to report that we're making a commitment now to finish those accessibility projects so that all stations within a matter of the next 3 to 5 years will be fully accessible to all persons.
That's
Um,
fabulous.
we are very excited about that. And we're also buying new rail cars, you may have heard. And those new rail cars are being designed with the latest in accessibility design guidance. And so, all cars of a train will be accessible, whereas some of our older equipment right now, there's a designated location on a train for persons in a wheelchair or with other mobility devices. The full train will now be open to customers. So there's a great deal of progress. We need to keep moving to finish out any remaining barriers that are out there to our public, the customers we serve. But really, really happy that we're going to be able to get there on the rail system in the next few years. We talked a lot about individuals and helping them navigate the public transit system. But in some cases, individuals may, for whatever reason, whether it be cognitive or physical impairments, may not be able to access the public transit system. And so perhaps you, Mary, can talk to us a little bit about paratransit and what it means to qualify for paratransit service and what those services do for individuals.
Well, thanks. Sure, I would be happy to. And you're right. It's interesting. I think that one misconception about paratransit is that it's an all or nothing proposition. The nice thing about the fact that so many city buses have great accessibility features is that folks can use the city bus for some trips and use paratransit for others. That gives people a lot of options. But then there are folks that really do need to use paratransit 100% of the time. And for them, Eligibility is based, and for everybody, on lots of factors. If somebody's unable to independently board or be steady on a bus for whatever reason, I think that people tend to think, again, if it's somebody doesn't use a wheelchair, that they're not eligible. That's just not true. There's many factors that would qualify somebody to use paratransit. Sometimes somebody has a temporary condition that would make them eligible for paratransit. So it's a much more inclusive program, if you will, or model than people, I think. It is a shared ride, just like the city bus. It is public transportation. It runs on the same schedule and at the same time as transportation. But again, we keep talking about the individual, but anybody who is unable to use the public bus due to a disability or a disabling condition, I always encourage them to apply. And if we are involved in that application and the transit districts themselves are kind and know about other transit options as well. So the application is a simple one. You can apply online. You can use a paper application. I assist folks applying online who don't have use of a computer, but the qualifications are simply too vast to cover. If somebody is unable to use a bus due to a disability or a disabling condition, I think they should be encouraged to apply for paratransit.
Absolutely, and paratransit is currently available to. I know there's some criteria around where you live.
It's a 3/4 of a mile bubble, if you will, around the fixed route service. So paratransit is available where fixed route buses are available. So it's that simple and that complicated, right? You have to call the transit district and they'll let you know, or you can call me and I can find out whether or not you are in the transit district service area.
And paratransit is that lifeline, literally a lifeline for many people.
Yes, it is.
In that, correct, right? They would have no other way of getting out of their
That's
home.
absolutely right. Paratransit is a way of life, really. I mean, without paratransit, I think that there are some people who would not be able to get to work, would not be able to get to doctor's appointments. Wheelchair vans are very expensive, so that's prohibitive. There are some wonderful options in terms of on-demand accessible taxi cabs, but it's not realistic to use on a regular basis. Paratransit is your public bus service. It's the public bus service for folks who cannot use the public bus.
And in Connecticut, for those that are wondering, where are those paratransit vehicles and who runs them? We have transit districts in Connecticut.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, and it was interesting. We talked about getting the word out a little bit. The transit districts are really also involved in outreach. They are happy to go to senior center schools to let people know what is available to them. There are transit districts throughout the state of Connecticut. Now, not everywhere. There are some areas that are not covered that do not have paratransit because there isn't fixed route buses there. But the Hartford, Bridgeport, Norwalk, there's 14 transit districts throughout the state, maybe more now. I think we've split one that provide paratransit, and they do a really great job of working alongside schools, senior centers. They work with us to get the word out, to let people know that they exist and the service is available.
So, Mary, thanks for that overview. One of the goals that I have sort of taken up personally is to find ways to improve how paratransit service is delivered. And so, in the industry right now, we're facing a major technological shift in vehicle design. We're moving away from internal combustion vehicles to electric. There are a whole new range of vehicle types coming that may be even more suitable to paratransit service. And then, we're also putting our toe in the water on automation. And what would be sort of a dream in the future is the ability for drivers to be more of more engaged with the individual rather than having to focus on the driving tasks. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity ahead of us. One of the other goals that I have is, I think right now the paratransit requirement is that You have to call at least 24 hours in advance, and you have a
Yes.
pickup window of 20 minutes on either side of your desired pickup time. So if you want to travel at 9 a.m., you have to be ready between 8:40 and 9:20 for that trip. And that's not a very customer friendly experience. It's something that we're meeting the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, but certainly I'm hoping we can do better in the future in terms of delivering that service.
That would be terrific because you're absolutely right. You have to call the night before to book both legs of your journey. That can be very difficult. And again, you're right. There's the pickup window. You have to negotiate a time. Learning to use paratransit, I always say to people, use it before you need it because there's a little bit of a skill involved. You need to learn how again, that you do need to negotiate the time. How long will it take you at where you are before you because you have to schedule your return trip that day. This is, again, the nature of paratransit, but the thought that that could be manipulated a little bit to make it more user friendly would be wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that, Mary.
Can I just mention cost?
You want to talk about cost?
I know the average actual cost for a paratransit ride is $52.50. But the fact that an individual is paying only $3 or $3.50, I think might be attractive to some people who may have no idea how paratransit works and that it can, in fact, be as affordable as a public bus or just a little bit more than a public bus.
So some of our listeners may be wondering right now, they themselves may have mobility needs, or they may know a family member or a friend that could benefit from the service. Just wondering how we can point them in the right direction. Mary, any suggestions?
Sure. Yeah. To obtain an application, because it is application based, you can either contact your regional transit district. They all have websites and or phone numbers, or you can go to www.ctada.com where there is an online application and a printable application. And it's really a great website. It tells you all about ADA paratransit. It tells you the providers and all the specifics. Or you can call me at the Kennedy Center. My name is Mary Rosenbauer. My number is 203-365-8522, extension 2061. We had talked about it being an affordable option. Just so that you know, paratransit is $3.50 in most transit districts each way. So the round trip fare is $7. So it's as affordable as it can be. And if in fact you're traveling with a personal care attendant, that personal care attendant travels for free. So it's a wonderful option for folks who need to use paratransit.
Mary, thanks for letting our listeners know how to access these services. And so we're going to wrap up now. And John, maybe last word to you for some closing thoughts.
Well, you bet. If anyone would be interested in travel training, again, it's a free service from the Kennedy Center. There is no charge. Your only cost is to actually pay the bus fare or the train fare while you are being trained. Please contact us at traveltraining@kennedyctr.org. Again, that's traveltraining@kennedyctr.org. Our phone number is 203-365-8522, extension 2950. Again, that's 203-365-8522, extension 2950. Our website at the Kennedy Center is www.thekennedycenterinc.org. And lastly, if you have any mobility questions, please contact April. Her phone number is 475-298-3103. Again, that's 475-298-3103. And again, thank you to DOT for this opportunity to share with you today.
It has been a real pleasure having the three of you on the program today. John Werdzala, April Chaplin, and Mary Rosenbauer of the Kennedy Center. Thank you for all you do, improving lives for Connecticut's residents. Really appreciate your time. Great talking with you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember, you can find previous episodes of Along the Lines on your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. I'm Rich Andreski. Join us next time for another episode of Along the Lines. Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Rich Andreski. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.